In a world that often forgets the very heroes who once gave it meaning, today we pause to remember one who never forgot Bill Gaither. His voice, his heart, and his legacy shaped more than just music. They shaped lives. Yet, when Bill Gaither made the sudden choice to withdraw from the stage, it was far more than a simple farewell from a musician. It symbolized the end of a chapter, the quiet turning of a page in gospel music history. The silence that followed carried with it uneasiness, leaving many feeling lost and uncertain. For so long, Bill had been a dependable presence, a soothing voice that reassured people in times of joy and in moments of despair. He was not just a performer, but a bridge linking generations, uniting music with faith and weaving together happiness and sorrow through songs, concerts, and tireless support. His sudden departure shook a community that had unknowingly grown to rely on his presence, never imagining a day when he would no longer stand at its center. And yet, even after the curtain fell, the melody continued. Every note, every spirit touched, and every flicker of hope that Bill gave the world still carries his essence. For all of this, we say thank you. Bill. When the announcement of his departure finally came, it was startling in its simplicity. A short, almost too straightforward statement confirmed what so many had feared but refused to accept. Bill Gaither was leaving. He slipped away from the spotlight without fanfare, without lengthy explanations, and without the dramatic gestures one might expect. Still, the impact of this quiet decision was thunderous. His absence was instantly felt by friends who loved him, by fans who leaned on his songs, and by fellow artists who looked to him as a guiding light. And in a world where loud voices often mask true feelings, his silence spoke louder than any stage performance ever could. It reminded everyone of how significant his presence truly was, not only as an entertainer, but as a pillar of strength, stability, and hope. The reactions that followed were emotional, heartfelt, and deeply human. Artists who had stood beside him on stage spoke through tears about the wisdom he passed down, not through grand speeches, but through his own life and actions. Fans opened up about their personal journeys, recalling moments when Bill's songs became their source of comfort during heartbreak, or their beacon of courage in dark times. From every story, one undeniable truth emerged. Bill Gaither had created much more than music. He had given people enduring memories, moments of healing and spiritual bonds, so profound that they would last far longer than the songs themselves, as the world searched for answers. Behind his sudden exit, the reality became clear, perhaps. Answers weren't what mattered most. Maybe Bill's decision was guided by his health, his family, or a deep yearning for rest after decades of selfless service. Or maybe it was a combination of all these things. Whatever the reason, what truly mattered was the lesson hidden within. Even the strongest, most inspiring figures must eventually step back when life calls for change. That truth carried more weight than any explanation could. Looking back at his remarkable career, it's impossible not to feel awe. From humble beginnings, Bill Gaither rose to become a global icon of gospel music, and yet he wore his success with humility and grace. The spotlight and the accolades were never his true goals. His mission was always deeper, to uplift spirits, nurture faith, and bring people closer together through the power of music. He accomplished this and more. His melodies wove themselves into the fabric of countless lives, becoming the soundtrack of Sunday services, weddings, funerals, and private prayers. His songs accompanied people through every stage of life. But beneath the strong public image lived a man carrying his own burdens, facing his own weariness, and bearing the heavy responsibility of being a constant source of encouragement. In that light, his decision to step away was not weakness, but profound strength. After all, it takes immense courage to know when to say goodbye, especially when the world isn't ready to let you go. After his decision was made public, a short yet moving farewell message followed. In it, Bill reminded everyone of what gospel music truly stood for. It was never about one man alone. The music, the message, and the faith would continue to flow like a river through anyone willing to pick up the melody and carry it forward. His final words were more than a farewell. They were a blessing, a symbolic passing of the torch, and an encouragement for the community to keep believing, keep hoping, and above all, keep loving today. The gospel music world feels different. Without Bill Gaither at the forefront, yet it is not diminished, it continues to thrive, nourished by the seeds he planted. His influence echoes in the voices of young musicians just finding their path in the timeless hymns that continue to inspire, and in the countless lives he touched with his unwavering message of truth and beauty. While his departure brought sadness, it also sparked deep gratitude. For even a brief time, the world was blessed with someone like Bill Gaither. His life proves that greatness is not about being the only one of your kind, but about leaving an impact so strong that it can never be erased. Bill's music, energy, and teachings live on, not just in recordings, but in the hearts of those who ever found solace in his voice. His legacy endures because of the many voices he inspired, the countless lives he uplifted, and the hope he spread with every note. Ultimately, this is more than a story of loss or showcase, is a testament to a life lived with integrity, generosity, and faith. True legends are those who leave the world better than they found it, not by seeking recognition, but by freely offering love, kindness, and inspiration in everything they do. Even after leaving the stage, Bill Gaither's story continues to echo. Every joyful note, every life touched by faith, every heart lifted with hope, these carry forward his legacy. That is why he will never truly be gone. For decades, he was the steady calm at the heart of the gospel community. A man who brought people together through the sheer force of faith and song. His music was not just art. It was healing, hope, and unity. Year after year, no matter how many new voices arose, Bill remained the center, the smiling presence who seemed unstoppable. His energy filled churches, festivals, and gatherings, creating a sense of reassurance that he would always be there. And then, it's like a sudden storm breaking through a clear day, came the revelation. Bill Gaither's official team issued a statement that was both succinct and powerful, announcing that he would no longer continue with public appearances, concerts, or events. No further details were offered at the time, and none were truly needed. The message alone was enough to change everything. Although there weren't many words in the announcement, those few words carried a weight far heavier than most could have imagined. Fans stared at their screens, reading the message again and again, desperately hoping they had misunderstood. Their hearts sank when they realized it was true. What they were reading was accurate, not a mistake. Shock spread quickly. The gospel community, long anchored by Bill Gaither's presence, was in disbelief and unable to process such an abrupt and life-changing shift. In a world that so often forgets its heroes, people found themselves remembering one who never forgot them. They were reminded of the voice, the heart, and the everlasting legacy of Bill Gaither. Bill Gaither's sudden withdrawal from the stage was far more than just a musician stepping back. It symbolized the closing of an era, a quiet but profound transformation in the gospel music landscape that left many feeling uneasy and deeply saddened. For decades, Bill had been a dependable presence, a comforting and familiar voice who guided audiences with his music. Through concerts, heartfelt songs, and his unwavering support, he built a bridge that connected generations, blending faith with melody and weaving joy with sorrow. His community, one that had come to take his presence for granted, never envisioned a time when he wouldn't be at the very center. His farewell was abrupt, and it shook them to their core. Yet like the final notes of a hymn that linger in the air, his melody continues to live on even after the curtain has fallen. Every song, every soul, and every spark of hope he gifted. The world carries with it the spirit of Bill Gaither. When the announcement came, it was almost too simple, far too understated for the enormous significance it held. Just a few short sentences confirmed what no one wanted to believe. Bill Gaither was leaving. He did so quietly, without much fanfare, without lengthy justifications, and without drawing the spotlight onto himself. His decision may have been silent, but its impact roared across the community. Friends, fellow artists, and devoted fans felt the loss immediately. In a world where emotions are often drowned out by noise, his quiet departure cried out even louder, reminding everyone of just how meaningful his presence had always been. Bill had never been just an entertainer. He was a pillar of stability, a steady source of hope. The wave of responses that followed was filled with emotion. Fellow artists who had shared the stage with him broke down in tears as they recalled the lessons he had taught, not just through his words, but by the very way he lived. Fans poured out personal stories of how his songs had carried them through heartbreak, lifted them during dark times, or brought peace in moments of struggle. Each testimony pointed to the same undeniable truth. Bill Gaither had not only created music, it created memories, offered healing, and built spiritual connections that would last far beyond the songs themselves. As the world searched for answers about his sudden decision, it became clear that sometimes explanations aren't necessary. Perhaps Bill stepped back for his family. Perhaps it was his health. Or maybe it was simply the quiet call of rest after decades of tireless service. Most likely it was all of these things combined. But in the end, the reason mattered less than the lesson. His departure was a reminder that even the strongest among us must pause when life demands change. Looking back on his career, it's impossible not to be astonished by all that Bill achieved. From humble beginnings, he rose to become one of the most beloved and influential figures in gospel music. Yet, through all his success, he remained grounded. For Bill, it was never about fame or accolades. His goal was always clear: to lift people's spirits, strengthen their faith, and bring communities together. And he succeeded. His music became part of countless lives woven into church services, weddings, funerals, and quiet prayers at home, behind the public image, however, was still a man who faced his own struggles. The expectations placed on him and the constant responsibility of being a source of encouragement surely weighed heavy on his heart. In the end, his decision to step away wasn't weakness, it was strength. It takes profound courage to say goodbye, especially when the world isn't ready to let you go. After the initial shock, a final farewell message was released. In it, Bill reminded everyone that gospel music was never meant to revolve around a single person. It was always bigger than one individual. The songs, the message, and the faith would carry forward with those willing to pick up the melody and keep it alive. His words were more than just a goodbye. They were a blessing, a benediction to the next generation, passing of the torch. He encouraged his community as he always had to keep believing, to keep hoping, and most importantly, to keep loving. Though the gospel world feels different without Bill Gaither at the forefront, it has not diminished. His influence continues to echo in the voices of young musicians, in the timeless hymns still sung today, and in the countless lives he touched with his message of faith, beauty, and truth. Even as people mourn, they do so with gratitude for having been blessed, even for a time, someone as extraordinary as Bill. His story proves that greatness is not about being unique, but about leaving behind an impact that can never be erased. Bill Gaither's music, his passion, and his teachings will live on, not just in recordings, but in the hearts of those who turn to his voice for comfort. His legacy endures in every singer he inspired, in every congregation he uplifted, and in every soul who found hope through his songs. This is not just a story of shock or grief. It is a celebration of a life lived with generosity, faith, and integrity. True legends, after all, are the ones who leave the world better than they found it. And Bill did just that, not because he sought recognition, but because he gave selflessly, through every word, every note, and every act of love. Even though Bill Gaither has stepped away, the story is still about him. Every joyful melody, every heart lifted in prayer, and every life touched by his music continues his legacy. For that reason, he will never truly be gone. For decades, the gospel community had found peace and assurance in his presence. Bill was more than just a performer. He was the calm within the storm, the steady force of unity through music and faith. His songs carried healing, hope, and a sense of belonging year after year. Even as new voices emerged, his influence remained. His energy filled church services, gospel festivals, and gatherings across the nation. People believed without question that he would always be there, smiling warmly and sharing his gift. His presence was so constant that it became a silent guarantee, an unspoken promise that things would never change. But then came the shocking revelation. Like a sudden storm on a clear day, the announcement arrived. Bill Gaither's official team released a brief but powerful statement, confirming that he would no longer be making public appearances, giving concerts, or attending events. No further details were provided. It was simple, it was short, but it carried an enormous impact. Fans blinked at their screens in disbelief, rereading the words, praying they had misunderstood. Yet the truth remained. It was accurate.